Can't carry on, but Anne-Marie, City women, here's one for you while I'm getting a drink. Taylor needs to go.
Oh, he said that last season, and then he was singing.
He's on it again already.
I know. He's jealous, isn't he? He wants the job, doesn't he? Wants the job.
But to be fair,
you know these fans do.
He might have a point.
Been following the team for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But the question is, why have all our better players left us in the summer?
Exactly. Down to Gareth Taylor.
No. I've got an opinion.
Hang on, I'm kicking off with Anne-Marie. I don't mean I'm kicking off with Anne-Marie.
No, because Anne-Marie would win.
Anne-Marie, we did our women's show last week, which I thought was a brilliant show as well. We seemed to get through a lot. And one of the points we did make was, why have we lost all these, star players? And they've all had a little bit of a dig. Well, not a little dig at City, but on the parting shots, we'd like to thank, everything but what Nick Cushion's done, which is the former manager. No, we'd like to thank Gareth Taylor and stuff like that. I think Gareth Taylor is the issue there.
And I think you could be right. But, I mean, watching the game yesterday, and it was, frustrating doesn't even come close. We couldn't string passes together. And, yeah, it takes time to bed in new players, and I appreciate that. And we got it back to being 3-2 up after being 2-0 down. And you're thinking, realistically, you knew we're not going to hang on here, but we couldn't even hold out at 3-3. We ended up, gifting it them. And that's the most frustrating thing. There's the basics were missing yesterday.
That wouldn't have happened, us getting beat, if we'd have had those players what have departed in the summer.
Well, that's
Probably not.
Yeah, but that's obvious, though, that, isn't it? I mean, that's an easy statement to make, that, isn't it? I don't think it's Gareth Taylor's fault that the fact that they can't hang on to a thing. I mean, we're transitioning now, aren't we? We have lost a lot of players, and I think that's consistent throughout Women's Super League. Well, you might shoot me for this, but there's no loyalty in the women's game at the moment, and you know what? I'm seeing a lot on Twitter. I don't know the players personally, and I don't follow them as intimately as I do the men, if you like. Intimate, that's probably the wrong word.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking out loud, maybe. But hasn't Kira Walsh, doesn't her girlfriend play for Barcelona?
It doesn't
Can I jump in here?
Georgia Stanway, unless it, doesn't. And Georgia Stanway's, one of the biggest blues there is. Lucy Bronze, how can you let Lucy Bronze go again on a free contract?
Yeah, but if she wants to go in the sun.
How do you know?
Lucy Bronze has never stayed anywhere longer than 3 years.
No, she hasn't.
No matter where
she's been to City, gone again, and then come back again. So there's no loyalty.
No, and
in
Lucy
women's
Bronze
football
is extremely injury prone.
She went
All I can say is
Sunderland. She went away. She went to City. She went to Lyon. She come back to City, and she's off again.
Yeah.
She does a 3-year contract, and that's it. But I'll tell you one thing, Andy. If anybody who was watching the game, we looked like what we were, a team that hadn't played together before.
Yeah.
And that's important, that. Now, yes, we wouldn't have lost that game last year. But then again, this you come back then to, is this all Graham Taylor?
Graham Taylor. He's a turnip.
He's got a turnip on his head.
I would be glad to get rid of him.
Gareth.
I'll tell you one thing though, mate. 7 big players have gone. You tell me how many clubs would have just sacked the manager if they thought he was a problem. If that was the problem, it would have been much easier just to get rid of him, not lose all of them because of him. Believe
Not
me.
necessarily. I'd say 5 because Jill Scott and Ellen White.
Let me go through them all. Let me go through them all. Jill Scott, she retired. It was the last game she's won the European Cup. Fair enough. She's not done a lot for City in the last 2 years anyway. She's gone from pillar to post. She's been to Everton. She's been to Villa. No disrespect to her there. That's just what's happened. She's an absolute legend. Nobody's going to disagree with that. But she hasn't done anything. So if she wanted to move on, then let her move on. Same with Karen Bardsley. Nobody's seen her for about 3 years. She's been injured. She's been brilliant. It's time to move on. To move on. And this one from the kid up front,
Ellen White.
Yeah. Now she's left that late, but then again, she's probably decided. Well, again, my last game's a final. I've won the medal. If it's me heart or whatever it is, the condition it is, what better way to leave than leave at the top? Very few players can get the chance to choose when they want to leave the game, but I think that's what she's done. Have your last memory is the best thing. Now you're down to them 4 then. Lucy Bronze has got no loyalty to anyone. She doesn't need to. She's a great player and what have you. So she's moved on again. Georgie Stanway. She might not want to, you were covering it last week. I think it was Rosie said it, that they're not on the same amount of money as men. So she might have thought, well, I tell you what, I won't mind going to Germany for a couple of years. Or what, go and play in there, go and play in Bayern. We don't know if she wants to become a coach later on, and she's having a look to see how they do things. There's a lot of things going on in there that we don't really know about. Now, tell you who did annoy me though, Kara Walsh, and she did annoy me. Because it's come out about a week before the end of the pre-season. It was only then she handed in her transfer request. She knew she had 2 years left. She could have done, people saying, oh, well, she could have done that any time in summer. Exactly. Say something in summer, tell City, write your little letter, say you don't want to play for us anymore. That's great. Do a deal with Barcelona, knowing that you hold the cards, that she will go, but we're going to get as much out of you as you can. But meanwhile, go and try and get some other players. Because if we try and sign anybody now, everybody knows we've got 400 grand in the bank. And they're not going to be giving them away. She could have done that. She could have had her future sorted out before the Euros. Easily. So I don't know. I don't blame that one on Gareth and his brother.
My take on things, one of the things that is holding back a lot of the players in England is a salary cap.
Yeah.
100%.
Players move on, they want more money, simple as. And you can't blame them for that. And it's like with Ellen White, you say she's retired now at the top of her game. I reckon she's looking at all these women pundits now coming out, and I reckon she could actually go towards that side, and she's probably going to earn more money doing that than she is playing football. So until they start paying bigger wages, we won't keep them.
Spot on.
Yeah.
And longer contracts as well, because they always seem to be two-year contracts or 3-year contracts.
The thing is, with a contract, it's not worth the paper it's written on, innit? If they want to go, they go. The money that's involved in these contracts was it. She went for a world record fee of £400,000, which that's the same. That's the same as a footballer in the 70s.
We sell academy kids for more than that.
Yeah, that's the difference. It's the money.
This is another little thing that's come in with the women's game. That whilst it's developed so quick in some things, it's not developed quite as quick in other.
Yeah.
And contracts is one of them.
Yeah.
100%. Because let's be honest, if you were a chairman and you were trying to figure out the actual value of that player, we know the value of a player down to the nth degree in the men's game, but we don't quite know the same with women. Is it worth paying her the extra £100 a week or £200 a week or whatever it is? We don't know, so I don't think people are sure to hold somebody to a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
No, and I disagree with this, Sam, because I think that as much as the game has moved on, I still think the reason that they're only on shorter contracts isn't because of, you know, it basically comes down to the fact that they're a woman, and they don't know if at any stage that person's going to go off and have kids or whatever else. And I honestly believe that that's why they only offer like a 2-year contract, because they're not going to get stuck with somebody. That's what I honestly believe.
Well,
and I think
surely they can put a clause in the contract that if they get
yeah,
pregnant,
but what you wouldn't have to put a clause like that in a man's contract. It's wrong.
they can't get pregnant though, can they?
No, but they cause it.
I don't know.
No. Hey, listen. A lot of the ladies, have other like ladies, don't they? So
Yeah.
I think the problem is we've got to be careful what we're saying here, haven't we? Because we can come across wrong. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we all love the game, but Man City as a football club lose about 1.5–2 million a year having the ladies team. At the moment, in this country, there isn't the massive market what everybody thinks. I mean, what's the average attendance at City? 2.5, 3,000 maybe for the ladies?
Right.
Yeah, it'd be something like that.
Right, so, if you think they're paying, what is it, £5–10 to get in, season ticket holders can get in for free and things like that. So they're not actually generating a lot of money. So they're actually running at a loss. So that to me is one of the main reasons that the wages are down. Because otherwise, if you were paying them, £20,000 a week, then that starts adding up to a hell of a lot of money.
I know,
when you're not making any money.
No, but then you've got, so like for the last 2 seasons, they've had television money. Yes, it might not be a lot, but it's going to add up, isn't it?
Yeah, but how much is that television money?
Well,
we say,
don't honestly know, do we? But
when you can get more money being a TV pundit than you can actually playing the game, that's wrong. That's where it's wrong. You're not telling me that there's any TV pundit is now getting more money than they were when they were playing, because there isn't any.
Well, I'm going to predict now that Micah Richards gets paid more doing his punditry than he did when he was playing football.
Well,
Fair show that.
Yeah, you might be right, but there isn't many, and there certainly isn't in the women's game, and that's what we're talking about.
Micah Richards is everywhere at the moment, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what. Stan,
Stan,
how's it going to change?
That's the 64 million, isn't it? As an aside, I'm not sure you can have that thing about pregnancy there.
No, it'll be illegal.
Just because of the legal order of the land.
Yeah, it'd be illegal.
No, but they wouldn't know. I'm not saying that they could put that in a contract, but that is why they're only offering short-term contracts, not long-term contracts.
No, I think it's a diminishing chicken and egg, that because not enough money's coming in, you don't want to hold somebody to 4 years, and because if then you can go. I mean, teams have tried to go pro in the past and they failed. Fulham were. It just didn't work. Now,
so Stan, so why do men get 4, 5, 6, and we're seeing now 7-year contracts and women are not?
Because of just the sheer amount of money that goes into the men's game. If women were getting 7–8 billion that comes into the Premier League, you can decide what you want, can't you?
Listen, at the end of the day, we're talking like the club offers them a 2-year contract. What's to say the players don't turn around and say, I don't want to sign for 4 years, because in 4 years, in 3 years' time, this game might really take off. We might win the Euros, we might win the World Cup. All of a sudden, it's going to go massive, and I'm on £5,000 a week when I've signed my contract for £5,000 a week, and I should really be on £100,000 a week. So it can work both ways, I think. I don't think it's the clubs hold all the cards sometimes. I think it's not that simple.
See, going for the men's contracts
as well. And that's... Go on,
Job. When you go for the men's contracts, it's all down to money, because that is a massive asset, and that is why you want to keep hold of the men for a long time. Because
so nobody's answered me. How is it going to change them?
there's only one way it's going to change.
More people need to watch. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It needs to get, it needs to be publicised more. They need to ride on the back of winning the Euros. They need to get out there and make this, a sport that people want to go and watch.
All right,
it's as simple as that.
I'll tell you what, here's an answer, Andy. Here's an answer.
Hang on, Stan, hang on.
Putting kick-off at ridiculous times.
I was going to say that, but Riz, you say they've got to get on the back, jump on the back of the Euros. Well, maybe they would do, but the Lionesses, we've lost Georgia Stanway, we've lost Lucy Bronze.
No, I'm on about women's football. I'm not talking about City. I mean football, women's football as a whole.
No, but if you look this weekend, the majority of attendances were up on last season. So there is a way forward in this, but it's how you increase it even more. And I think it'll be interesting to see when City first play at home this season, what kind of attendance we get.
Can I roll this conversation back about 90 years ago? And there'll have been people talking about the men's game like this. How can we get
the... remembers it.
No, Andy told me this actually in confidence. He said, bring it up, Riz, because he'll never believe you.
Riz, I'm just trying to get that podcast now from 90 years ago.
It's one of those. It's one of those Pathé news. I say. No, but let's have it right. Women's football is still in its infancy, and I think it's come on a hell of a lot in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I really do. It's become commonplace. We all talking about it. Let's sometimes you just have to sort of like take a breath and think, I've sort of said there's no loyalty and blah blah blah. That's because you see loyalty in the man's game. Perhaps this is how it's going to be. Perhaps the women's game, which I see them as two separate sports, perhaps the women's game, that's how it is, like American football and where they have all these picks and they do different things. Women's football might be different than what men's is, and maybe we should stop trying to compare the two. Because, let's have it right, they are different, but they are the same thing kicking a football about, but they're different games, and treat them differently, and stop trying to compare certain things with the men's game. Treat it on its own little thing, on its own.
But then
that's a bit like
people...
saying, let's keep the little woman quiet, though.
No, it isn't. I'm not saying that.
It is.
I'm not saying that. What,
no, it's like
what, by saying that the women's football isn't the same as men's football? Well, it isn't.
No, but it's like, so England go and win the Euros, and what comes out next are all these memes of, I'm glad it's finally over. We'll get the washing up done now. The World Cup goes on for 4 weeks. You don't see women then posting things like, I'm glad the World Cup's over. I'll get someone to put the bins out now.
I don't know what you mean, Anne-Marie. No, I don't, to be honest. You've lost me.
Start doing them, Anne-Marie. Start doing them.
Maybe that is what I need to start doing. I think we've got to get past the whole men's and women's game. It's like this season.
Well, it is. They're two separate sports,
no,
and I think that's what's holding. That's what's holding it back. I mean, Man City's under-15s beat the women's team, something like 15-3 or something like that. It's a different sport. You can't compare the two. Treat them separately, and I think we'll go a lot further. I really do, and I think this is where the problem lies. Men had stopped being, being misogynistic to the women's game if they actually got it in their own heads that stop comparing it to what we watch week in and week out, because it's a different game. It's slower.
You're going to struggle with that, Riz, because of the basic misogyny, because that's at a social level. That's not a football problem. You look at what happens.
Well, let's have mixed games. Well, let's have mixed games of football then. Should we have mixed games of football then?
We do.
Hey, Riz. It's only as slow as we was out in second half of Wolves.
The thing is, though, anyway.
Yeah, good point.
What you were saying before, though, Andy, about how you can improve the game. One of the better ones is just make sure that you've got consistent times, you know. And one thing you can do is what Riz was saying, is that you can link it to what the men are doing. So you can play an hour, 2 hours before or 2 hours after. Get them there so that everybody's there at the same time.
Well, this is it's exactly what we said last week, Andy.
Yep.
Well, the other one, and all about you saying about the standard of the league, Andy, that's if you got your pen here, because there's a bit of cognitive dissonance going on there. There's not a big loss in the English league across all the teams. It's just City. They're the ones that have lost star players out of the league. You know, with the 4 that went and Caroline.
So who's that down to then?
Gareth Taylor.
How did I know that was coming?
No, there isn't. That's the thing. It hasn't really affected them. People have come in. I mean, you know, Chelsea have had a couple of great signings. Buchanan's one. The centre-back who's come in from Lyon and things like that.
Yeah, it can't be that good if Liverpool can beat them last night.
Oh, don't worry about that. That's the first game, innit? Funnily enough, there's a team with the first game.
There's one thing we've not touched on though. I think the standard of women's football is brilliant now. I really, really do. I think it's come on a long way. You know, like this money being pumped in now from TV and stuff like that. But I think the standard of football is brilliant, Anne-Marie.
Oh, it is. It's so much better than it used to be. And, you know, we said it last week, there's certain things from the women's game the men could learn a thing or two from, like not rolling around like they've been shot.
No drum, though. No drum, though.
No drum. No drum.
Don't get me going on that drum.
No arguing with the referee. You know, they just get the referee makes the decision, they get on with it.
Yeah, but that's because there's no prima donnas yet. There will be in time.
I think
again, men's football. You didn't see players rolling around back in the day, did you? It's a modern international thing. So I get you. You're 100% right, Anne-Marie. You know, that was so refreshing watching the Euros and players getting clattered and just getting up and getting on with it. And no arguing with decisions, no effing and jeffing apart from.
Jill Scott.
I think it was Jill Scott. Wasn't it? I learned to lip read off Jill Scott. So yeah, listen, you know, women's football has improved massively over the last 3 or 4 years. But as I say, you know, to say it's brilliant, Andy, compared to what it used to be. But then again, you put the women against other teams and they come unstuck. But that's because it's a different sport. It's the physicality that's different.
You're saying about it being a lot better now. It should be a lot better.
Well, yeah, it's just treat them different.
It should be a lot better. They are professional players now. They've not got another job anymore.
No.
They're actually, their job is to play football.
Yeah.
So it should be better.
So one thing which Stan touched on, and you know we discussed last week, is the kickoff times and stuff like that. You know, 7 o'clock or something like that on a Sunday night. You know,
I know, it's ridiculous.
You know, that's just stupid. You know, the way to develop the game even more is, I'll speak City specifically here. If City are at home on the men at home at 3 o'clock on say a Saturday, why can't the women play at say 12 o'clock on the Saturday if they're at home? You know, that I'm sure, you know, the majority of City fans would want to go and see the women's game, you know, and then, you know, go across the bridge and watch the men's game. That's one way, and you get the attendances, and you're developing it with the money would be there through attendances and stuff like that. So
the thing is, we're creatures of habit on a match day, aren't we?
You are.
So, well, yeah, I'll speak for myself. You know that if we've got a 3 o'clock kickoff, we meet at 10, 11 o'clock in the Connie Club, and we have a few beers. So, you know, to change that.
Yeah, but generally it generate more attendance, won't it? You know,
it would. Of course, it would. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to sort of like turn it from 3,000 into 20,000, is it?
No, but it might turn it from 3,000 to 6,000, and then all of a sudden you can start paying, you know, the salaries and stuff like that. But you are absolutely right. There's got to be things done like removing a salary cap, because that is just stupid. It really, really is stupid. But another point what you said, what Stan said, yeah, I'm talking City specifically here. We've lost some big players, for whatever reason in the summer. Other women's football teams haven't. So the fundamentals, there's something fundamentally wrong with City women at the moment. And
perhaps it's that we've got that good players that other clubs want our players, and nobody wants the opposition players. Have you thought that?
I don't agree. Yeah. Yesterday was.
How many international players does City normally have? We normally have quite a few international. Was he 7? 7 in the England squad that had been City or at some point in their careers.
It can go up to. That's the problem. It can go up to 11 or 12. It's a ridiculous amount of players.
That's what I mean. So we tend to have good players. We tend to have good players.
And the world are watching. Yeah.
Yeah, we tend to have good players, and if I'm sorry, but it's so attractive to anybody if you're a footballer playing in Manchester to all of a sudden have Barcelona interested in you. You paid more money and the sun's shining. Where are you gonna go?
All right, Riz. Barcelona, what Bernardo City went.
That's another one. Hang on, that's another one as well. That is one thing with Keira Walsh. She has got family in Spain.
I thought a girlfriend was in Spain or something. I thought a girlfriend played for him, something like that.
No, she is. But what I'm saying is, she's got actual family, blood relatives in Spain, and she used to go there a lot. So she knows Spain, and she knows around there.
That's what I'm saying. I think sometimes we get unfortunate. We've got good players. Other teams come in for our good players. There might be a little bit of a problem with the manager, maybe, but it's like Stan said, if we've got such a big problem with the manager will be out. They'd get somebody else in. They're not going to hang around. They're going to get somebody else in. They're not in it for the fun of it. They want to get it going. They want to be, City were one of the first teams to get a women's team, and they want to make something out of it. If they can improve it, they will.
Right, Riz. John, Riz has just made a great point there. City was one of the first teams, to be founded back by City. Tell Riz you can say no. Tell Riz your background.
My background?
Stan, sorry.
Right.
I was going to say.
I'll do that on the women's cast because it's a bit more relevant. Do you know what I mean? But no, City didn't. City weren't developed by the club. City women were developed by an individual guy, and City did give him the blessing. And to be honest, by the time I'd come along, it was a blessing and a curse because you couldn't go out and get sponsorship. You had to have their stuff, but they didn't give you anything to help. So it was a bit of a funny one. But you're right, it has come in. It's come a long, long way in the last 20 years. There's no doubt about that. But it's difficult because, like I was saying, it seems to be evolving very quickly and very slowly and very shambolically in some things. The marketing, the PR on the TV, that looks great. But then when you actually go into the bones of it, Anne-Marie can tell you about that. Getting tickets and the times and the prices and all these things is just chaos. I mean, how can you do one thing so well and something else so badly? You can't even get the same times right.
I think that's City for you, though, isn't it?
Typical City.
Oh, that's not City. That's not City. That's the Women's FA.
Yeah.
That's the Women's FA for you.
But as you say,
I mean, they had them playing in the summer not long back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, hang on a minute, how's summer going to help them? You had seasons having to stop so that they could play an international tournament, then come back and go again. What's happening this year?
They changed all the seasons.
Was the norm? That was the norm. It was like,
it was like an afterthought, wasn't it? It's like it didn't matter. Let's run it professionally, but be amateurish doing it. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and it was, it did raise the questions that, well, are you actually box ticking here, or are you actually trying to develop the game? And for a long time it was
box ticking. It was 100% box ticking, mate, from what I could see. And there's other clubs that have set up teams purely because, well, they've got a team, so I suppose we better have one. And I'm probably using a team quite in Salford area.
Yeah.
United didn't have a team.
That's what I mean.
United didn't have a team for 25 years. They had a youth academy.
I mean. Yeah.
And the guy who was running it the first time was this fellow from Droylsden. That wasn't United, and they've only been pushed into that now because UEFA have said you're going to need a women's part, and this is why all these Juventus and everyone else, Real Madrid and Barcelona, they've only popped up recently, and they've done that because they've been told they have to do it.
Yeah,
it's part of your licensing now.
Yeah,
you've not got a women's team. They could potentially stop you playing in Europe.
Yeah.
Now here's one for you, Andy. Have you got any idea of the players who've come in for City? Like your Sandra McCarvey, your Mary Fowlers, your Kasparis.
I'd say you impressed me yesterday, that Coombs. I reckon she's going to score a lot of goals, mate.
Yeah, I mean, she's come through. So, but we've probably got one of the strongest goalkeeping departments going now with Ellen Roebuck.
I won't say that after the fourth goal.
Well, I was going to say, now you can't blame Gareth Taylor for Ellen Roebuck's.
Can't, because I'd have picked a different keeper yesterday.
Yeah.
And Sandy McCarvey's a very good keeper. We brought in some quality replacements. But there's one question as well, that this team's been together for about 3 years now. How much has it actually won? Are they too pally? Is there nobody in there that would actually knock somebody out to get them over the line to win something? Or, I don't know, maybe Taylor thought there's something not quite right in the mix here.
Too clicky, maybe.
They'd have too pally. They had too... they had that early success with Nick Cushion. Yeah, they did. But
okay then. John, here's one for you then. If De Bruyne, Haaland was Pally, too Pally, do you think Pep would get rid of one of them? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. He don't give a monkeys. He did it at Barcelona. He did it at Bayern. If he's not happy with something, you've gone, he turned around and got rid of Ibrahimovic. Didn't care. Ibrahimovic scored 20-odd goals.
Anyway, guys, anybody get anything else before we finish? It's been a really good, interesting show.
Yeah, I've enjoyed tonight. Yeah.
Got a bit of an international break now as well.
Yeah, plenty more podcasts to do.
We can still do one.
Yeah, we can. We can just talk about current affairs. John dropped his wallet again.
No, there was no thud.
there is a thud. It's Riz. Elmer thud.
Oh, put your tumbleweed thing on again. Do that tumbleweed thing.
Oh, right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Really enjoyed tonight, and we'll find something to talk about for next weekend anyway.
Yeah.
Always do.
Right. Cheers for joining us, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Yes.
Adios.